I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brindley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Lutheran, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of Idaho high school athletics. Hey, it's the best Prepcast you'll get all week. Well, maybe the Matt Chat Prepcast, but we're so excited to have you with us. My name is Joel Richardson, and I'm joined by the East Idaho expert and insider, the man of Century Tennis and Century, what do we call that, Sean? MCing at all girls and basketball games, Sean Kane. What's going on, Sean?
After that intro, I'm speechless, Joel. Not too much going on. Just lots of games, lots of East Idaho stuff going on. Kind of been running the data, looking at how we compare among the state, talking to some people, and been having some really good, interesting conversations. But I think the conversation we're about to have might be the most interesting one we're going to have all week here on Idaho Sports.
Every week on the East Idaho Prepcast, we have our player of the week and the team of the week. And we've been so privileged this year, this season really, Sean, of this basketball season, to bring in some coaches and get some really good inside information on these teams. We've had Blackfoot's Ramey Odom. We've had Skyline's Ty Keck. Other coach, we've had Centuries. His name is
Ryan Frost.
Ryan Frost. We've had.
Give you a shirt, man.
Frost.
Come on.
I know. I'm so sorry, Ryan Frost. We've had Ryan Frost on the show. Thanks to Sean for bailing me out there. And it's been so cool. Well, folks, we have another great special guest today to talk about our team of the week, the Century Girls Basketball head coach, Crystal Dayley. Crystal, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, you guys are smoking right now on a tear. 15-0. You haven't lost a game yet. We have some amazing teams all the way from 6A to 1A, but none of them have gone undefeated in East Idaho except for your team, the 15-0 Sugar-Salem girls basketball team. Coach, what do you attest to this great start?
Last season did not end like any of us wanted to, and it left us all very hungry. The girls have been counting down the days, from last season until they got to get started. And we had a great off season. The girls were, put in a lot of time, and they just came in ready to go. And so, I just felt like right from the get-go, they were ready to play. And I think it helps that we have a lot of kids coming back from last year. I've never brought back a whole team returning. So that helps a lot because we've got a lot of leadership, and, we didn't have any seniors last year. So that's definitely helped us out.
Yeah, you brought up what I was going to say, Coach, as I remember correctly, last year there were no seniors. So pretty much everyone comes back, you have 7 all conference players, a lot of cred, 15-0 right now, and the thing we look at, we looked at some of the stats, and you just have different leader and everywhere. And so that being said, you didn't have seniors last year, you got seniors this year. Who's kind of the leaders right now for this undefeated Sugar-Salem team?
I think my favorite thing about this team is, and I think it's the reason why we were so successful, is we have, different leading scorer almost every night. We have so many kids contributing. And I've told my assistant coach multiple times, I says, man, I'd hate to scout us because I wouldn't know who to stop. And I really think that's why we're so successful, because it depends on the night. Any given night I have a different leader, I have a different kid step up, and I have so many kids contributing. And I think it's what's making us so tough is I don't have one kid that's a total standout all-star that's putting up 20 points a game. I've got, most nights we have 4 kids in double digits, and it's been a huge part of our success.
I mean, on the high school level, you don't hear this too much, but do you have any problem with getting the ball to a lot? Because again, you have all these statistical categories with a different leader in every one. Do you have this problem sometimes? Like, hey, coach, I'm not getting a lot of touches. Do you find that on your team at all with all these great players?
This team is so unselfish.
Cool.
It's been fun. Last week I was comparing stats from previous teams, and this team's averaging more than double the assists of any team I've ever had. And I feel like it's been really cool to see, because I've stressed a lot though. One thing I feel strongly about is I don't care who my leading scorer is. I'm always looking at who has the most rebounds or steals or, the fewest turnovers. Those are the stats I care about. And so I've really, preached that to my kids a lot too. But they're always willing to make the extra pass. So it's fun to see, because I've got, posts getting multiple assists a night. I've got everyone on my team that's just always looking for that extra pass. So it's been fun to see that.
Yeah, that unselfishness is really key. And when it gets down to crunch time, which it's getting there, right? We're pretty close to being in a small conference. Your crunch time, I feel like, comes a little later than some, but you're going to get into that conference play. And so, I mean, let's just dive into it. I mean, we talked a little bit about a pregame, but the season probably didn't end like you wanted it to last year. I mean, we watched it develop. Me and Joel did, like, who's going to win this conference? Teton, South Fremont. I mean, unbelievable. Probably the toughest 4A conference. I mean, bar none. I'm in Idaho right now. I mean, there's no 3 teams. I mean, the conference right now is 40-2.
It's crazy.
There's only 2 losses and 40 wins, 42 games played. I mean, so what's it going to take to kind of flip that result as you head into conference play? Because, I mean, you could lose all the conference games and still win districts, right? I mean, that's how hard it's going to be. And I mean, that's kind of what happened last year. Some, one team did well or went back and forth, but at the end of the day, you got to win districts to get that spot at state.
For sure. I agree with you totally. I think we have the toughest conference in 4A, and, there's pros and cons to that. I feel like it's a great thing because it prepares you for the state tournament for whatever teams do survive. Having some of your toughest games of the season at the end of the season is a great thing as a coach, but it also is hard because, both this season and last season, I don't think there's been a single week where all 3 of us haven't been ranked in the top 5. And it's sad that one of us gets left home, because I truly believe all 5, I think all 3 of our teams should be there. I think they could all compete at state tournament and all do really well. So it's a sad deal that one of us has to stay home, but I just think, we have to keep so focused at this time. And I told the girls the other night, I said, all right, our preseason's over. We're 15-0. We're right where we want to be, but we have a new season that starts Friday night, and all our conference records are 0-0. So I said, your 15-0 record means nothing. It's gotten us the number 1 spot. We're where we want to be, but we've got to come in Friday night thinking we're all on the same level now, and we've got to be focused and ready to go every game.
Now, let me ask you a question. So the boys from Sugar-Salem soccer team, right? They were the number ranked team all year and then didn't make the state. So I'm sure that all these kids know each other, and that's probably something that's going in the mind. And probably some of your basketball players played soccer as well, I would imagine. And so, they've got that up there. So I'm sure that's very prevalent in the halls of the Digger hallways.
It is, for sure. It happened to the girls, I think, 2 years ago as well, or 3 years ago. So it's happened a couple times at Sugar. So that's a big focus for us is, we don't want to overlook anyone. We want to come in focused every game and ready to go. And it's a big deal.
Yeah. And that luckily in basketball, they have that 1.5 seed, right, guys? And for soccer, they didn't have that 1.5 seed. It was just one team goes and the rest of them stay home. And so at least if you don't get first, at least you're in the play-in if you get second. So just get second, right, Coach? At least get second, if not get first. And you're in the play-in against District 5, right?
Yes.
Marsh Valley, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about, this conference, and you mentioned it was kind of this conference can be good and bad because it can kind of prep you for what's coming. You have a lot of these players that are so good, but tell us about maybe an unsung hero on this team that maybe doesn't get a lot of accolades, but does all the things right. So when those tough moments come that you've been preparing for because of your conference, that player is just helping you get there and not lose track of the moment, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's hard with this team because I don't feel like there's any one, player. They just every kid has their own role on the team and brings so much. But, Andy Peterson's she's kind of like the glue that I feel like holds us together. I don't know if I'd say an unsung hero because she does have a lot of accolades. I mean, she's leading the state of Idaho in assists per game. But she's the kid that, just does so much. She's the one that, is making our posts look good because she's feeding them the ball, nonstop and just does – she does a lot for our team, on both ends of the floor. But like I said, I don't know. It's hard to say any one person because I feel like every kid on my team is, so important and has such a big role that it's been a fun year that way.
I'm glad you said someone. I was afraid you were going to give us the good coaching,
and
Coach not say anyone and be everyone's just really contributing. So I'm glad we got Peterson out there and Larson's playing well too. I remember her from last year doing some good things. So you've got some really good players. But I like that you shouted someone
my
out.
posts, Harris and Need have both had phenomenal years. I mean, they've been so consistent and they're shooting such a high percentage. They've both played really well. Is
Harris related to the football player? Was there a football Harris? Are they related?
Her brother was the quarterback a few years ago.
Okay.
And she had another brother on a team. So her brothers have played football.
Okay. That's okay.
Not Carson Harris, the one you're probably thinking from last year. That's
okay. You never know. We don't have Lance Taylor here to break down all the.
I'm surprised he hasn't chimed in yet.
I'm sure Lance.
Yep, we do.
Coach, just really fast, Sean, before you take the next question, for those who don't know, we were looking at these stats of your team, Coach. I know you have a hard time, who really is stepping up because everyone does. But again, the points per game, Monica Need is a leader. Rebounds per game, Ashlyn Harris. Assists per game, Andy Peterson. You mentioned her. Steals per game, Sophia. Is it Dougherty?
Dougherty.
Blocks per game, Monica Need. That's the first time we've seen the same name twice. She's the same one who was leading in points per game. Free throws per game, Monica Need. 3-point percentage, Andy Peterson. And the list just continues. Ashlyn Harris is on there. So that's 3 or 4 players who are leading in different categories. That's just super impressive, Coach.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, that's what I love. As a coach, that's my favorite stat. I love nothing more than looking in the scorebook and seeing 4 kids in double digits or, seeing different kids contribute. It makes this tough to stop.
Yeah. And then again, and your roster, you mentioned you have a lot of seniors. You have 6. Looks like 6 seniors on your roster. 7 seniors and then some sophomores and juniors. That's a recipe. I don't want to. We're allowed to get ahead of ourselves, Coach. You can't because you got to coach next game. But Sean Kane, that's a recipe for success going deep into state.
Yeah, I see it. Last year no seniors, very rare. And so I think you've had a really good chance to build good culture, right? A good culture for you're going to lose a lot of seniors this year, but you've got other younger players. So I just really see it as a such a great opportunity to build a good basketball culture at Sugar-Salem. So is there any culture things that you guys are doing? Maybe you don't want to tell us and give it away, but if there's anything good that what you guys are doing, because I wouldn't call it a turnaround from last year, but it kind of feels like that. You know what I mean? It feels like you've kind of flipped a switch, maybe not a turnaround, like you just put it in another gear. And kind of what culture, what really drove that?
I became a lot stricter this year, and our theme for the season is no excuses. And I just really, went back to that a lot where, I haven't listened to any excuses. That's been my favorite phrase I've used. Anytime a kid says anything, I say no excuses, get it done. And they've really bought into it. I feel like these kids are. It's funny because it's the same team I had last year, but it feels like a completely different team.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. They've grown up, they've matured. I feel like they've really bought into things this year. It's crazy because you would never know it's the same team, but they've really bought in. That's awesome.
Well, Coach, just a few more questions and we'll get you out of here to more important things than being on this Prepcast. But again, really appreciate you coming on. Some insiders, some experts, if you will, kind of like Sean Kim, but maybe not as smart.
Northern Idaho
have claimed that Timberlake is the team to beat in 4A. Have you seen them play yet, Coach? We want to know if you have any insights on Timberlake.
I've watched them on film a lot.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Doing
it's
some
hard
homework.
when we're this far away because
Sure.
we don't never get to see him in person. But Timberlake, I probably played them in more state tournaments than any other team out there. I have a ton of respect for Matt Miller. I think he's one of the greatest coaches out there. He puts together a good team every single year. And I mean, we had an 8-year span where him and I won the state title for 8 years straight, and so
That's so cool.
I have a ton of respect for him. I have a ton of respect for his program, and they're good. I mean, he's got a great team. He has some big players back from last year. He got his daughter back from her torn ACL. That's a huge contributor. So no, I mean, I'm sure we'll meet up with them again this season.
We're hoping for it. Sean and Kane and I, at least, just for the fireworks. That's so cool that you guys have played each other so many times.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of in the same boat. They were kind of youthful last year as well, and they bring back 5 or 6 seniors and the coach's daughter as well. So they're kind of in the same boat. And and I always kind of like ask, because you don't ever want to go, well, we're looking just for this one opponent, but it's always kind of fun when we have the coach on. I mean, you'd be silly not to look, right? I mean, that'd be silly. They put the games on film for a reason, and so that'll be good, and hopefully you end up playing each other. But that will be definitely some fireworks a little early of the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Coach, your new season, to finish off our time together, your new season, like you said, starts, I want to say this Friday. This Friday against Teton. What are you doing to prepare for Teton?
Like you said, they're all playing well. Our conference doesn't have a single 4A loss between all 3 of us. Both South and Teton lost to 5A. I think, both 5A opponents. And so everyone's playing well. Everyone has a lot of confidence. And, we're just luckily we have a whole week to prepare for them. And so South and Teton will face off Wednesday. So it'll be fun to watch that game and see how that one plays out. But we're excited. This is my favorite time of year. I love getting into the conference and preparing for the tournament stuff. So we're just excited. We're excited to see what everyone has and how we match up. I don't feel like we've had a lot of common opponents this year. We've played, they played a lot of the smaller schools them and South have. And I think, we've got like Ryrie and Snake, but we don't have many common opponents. So there's not a lot to compare ourselves to. So it'll just be fun to see how we match up.
Yeah, that was the thing. I'm looking at all 3 teams. South Fremont's in 3rd place, right? Because they've just one less win. And they've got a bunch of players. But Teton successful last year. But they're kind of a different team than last year. They lost some big players, and it'll definitely be good. And like we've said, it's just going to be interesting, right? Because you could lose these games, whatever team, and then you get to districts, and I mean, hopefully you want that bye, right? I'd imagine you get a bye in that 3-team conference. Sometimes they change them, so I didn't want to jump the gun, but hopefully you get that bye and maybe some home games. But it'll be really fun. So yeah, that starts Friday. And is that at Teton or at Sugar-Salem?
At Sugar.
At Sugar. There you go.
And I feel like, I don't know, in our conference this year, especially, there's been years where a bye hasn't meant that much, but I think it does mean a lot this year where all 3 teams are so tough. But I think more than a bye is getting home court advantage. Going to Teton and South, those are tough places to play. So I think that's about, it makes it so these conference games are that much more important because you want that home seed. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, that familiarity, just the routine. You're not getting on a bus, you're not doing anything. You go home, probably could eat dinner, or you probably maybe have team dinners before a game like that or something, but you've got a pretty good routine and you don't have to deviate it. And definitely home. I know kids like to travel, but really being home is where the heart is.
It is. I agree.
Coach, before we let you go, any shout outs you want to give the players, family, team, your assistant coaches?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for my assistant coaches. Obviously, couldn't do it without them. And like I said, this team's been awesome this year. I've had a ton of fun coaching them. It's been so much fun to watch them grow and mature, and I can't wait to see what they accomplish these next, however, 4, 5, 6 weeks we have left. So,
right on. And finally, this is from Paul Kingsbury, the boss of IdahoSports.com. Says, thanks for coming on the Prepcast tonight, Coach. You really classed the joint up. Good luck this season. That's more of an indictment against us than I think. No, just
thanks, I appreciate it.
And I appreciate having you on. Good luck with preparation. Good luck against Teton this Friday. And we can't wait to see how the Mountain Rivers Conference shakes up and how you guys do.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take care, Coach. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Sean, it's Coach Dayley from the Sugar-Salem girls basketball team. Class act indeed. So grateful she came on. And man, Sean, I can't imagine being the leader of that group of girls with that kind of experience, that kind of that talent and organizing it all. I'd love to pick her brain, maybe behind the scenes. Okay, how do you, she makes it seem like, oh, the girls are just super easy to coach. Maybe they are, Sean, but when you have that much talent and I just feel like you got to be a great leader. And Coach Dayley's got to be a great leader. I mean, you can see from the interview.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And sometimes just being a coach, you get a group of players that they've got it together. And that's what I got from Coach, is that they've got it together. They've matured over the year from last year. And they were good last year, don't get me wrong. But like she was saying, I feel like it's a different team. It's got a different feel to it. And that's her leadership. That's the coaches. That's the community. But I think you got to credit the players. I think the players come together, they see what they can do, and that kind of just rolls. And that's what I see coming from the Digger girls at 15-0.
Definitely. Congrats to the Diggers so far this season. I know they're thinking of bigger things, and Coach Daly's got them dialed in. Again, what a great coach. What a pleasure to have her on. And can't wait to see what they do at districts. And then hopefully they get that state and they can do stuff at state. And maybe for the fans, right, Sean, we get to have a little Timberline Sugar-Salem at some point.
They got to get through districts. Like that district, you got to get there. And if they get there, then we'll look forward to that, because all three teams, I think when we get to the end of the season, no matter what happens, I think we're going to be on one of our trains of, why don't they only get one, or and we'll be
at least
there.
It's 1.5. You're right.
Yeah, I think with three teams that's a fair bet, but it's too bad that they're all good.
Totally. Yeah. Hey, before we continue, Sean, remember we have a sponsor of the East Idaho Prepcast, Ideal. It's a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org and get started with that 529 plan. Sean, let's keep going. We had our team of the week, and let's do something we haven't done on this Prepcast together. Let's talk about wrestling, man. Player of the week is going to come from the American Falls Beavers wrestling team, Nate Gugelman II, weighing in at 150 pounds. The dude is 23-0, Sean, winning at the latest Rollie Lane Invitational. What a stud. Talk about him, Sean.
Oh, man. I emailed their coach, which happens to be his dad.
Nice.
And he refers to him as Little Nate.
150.
Yeah, and he gave me a cool story. He said Nate, in his freshman year, lost Rollie Lane finals and got pinned, which was his first time being pinned before middle school season started. Wow. That second place medal, he said, had been hanging next to his door every day just to remind him as he walks out of his door about that. And, now he's got a record of 111-3 overall, 23-0 right now. He's also involved in student council. He's been there since he was a freshman, sophomore class president. He's the current student body vice president. Just a testament of grit. His freshman year, he won state with walking pneumonia, cough and bronchitis. He's averaged 30 pounds of growth a summer since 8th grade, which I just thought, I've averaged 30 pounds of growth since 8th grade too, but I don't think mine's been positive. And he wants to wrestle in college. He's got a GPA of 4.3. He loves wrestling, fishing. Why not? American Falls, great place to fish out there. But then I did, counter with, to his dad about who has interests, and he's got UVU, Wyoming, Duke, Northern Colorado, St. Cloud, Grandview, and a few others. So there's a lot of college buzz for little Nate. And what a great job. And, American Falls is going to be in this battle, right, with Fruitland and wrestling. And they're going to talk about it on the Mat Chat, and it'll be a great show. But just East Idaho, that this American Falls team is really going to be chasing for that blue trophy at the end of the year. And Nate's going to be a big part of it. And, just what a phenomenal job winning Rollie Lane and just all those accolades. 111-3, Joel.
That's insane. That's something that Sugar-Salem girls basketball team is going to be chasing, right? That's an amazing record, and it's really cool to shout out a wrestler. Like you said, Sean, this isn't the Mat Chat. That's tomorrow night. I want to say 7 o'clock Mountain Time. But we had to shout out Nate Gugelman the second, little Nate, as they call him. It's really cool to be able to shout out this kid from American Falls, great wrestler, great wrestling team. And like you said, Sean, this is the player of the week segment, but man, that American Falls wrestling team, going up against Fruitland, that's going to be an awesome matchup to watch for.
That's easily the Beavers could be a team we're putting as team of a week, doing just a phenomenal job, have been for a while out there. And that's always a battle in that classification for wrestling. And, and just Idaho in general, just how wrestling is just blowing up. And I mean, it's probably been there, but now it's just a lot more. And colleges are looking here. They're trying to find the wrestlers here in Idaho. And some college is going to land a good fish with Nate, right?
Definitely.
He wants to do aerospace engineering too, right? Yeah. So you're getting a student athlete, a phenomenal wrestler. He's at that 155 weight right now, and a phenomenal student. So congrats to him. His dad obviously played a big role in that, and he's his coach. And what a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and shout out to his dad, Coach Gugelman, for sending us that information and putting his son on that pedestal. That's really cool. And you mentioned the aerospace engineering. Yeah, Sean, he has a 4.3 GPA, cumulative GPA. I'll say this, Sean. I know a couple guys who wrestled in college, and I mean, I know this is confirmation bias, but they were all smart guys and like good dudes, worked hard, and
I think that's wrestlers
on the mat and in the classroom.
Wrestlers, you just have to be so strict, right? You have to be strict on that diet. You got to be strict in the moves, and everything comes down to split seconds and reaction and thinking. And you have to be. I mean, I'm sure there's some just straight up power dudes out there in wrestling, obviously, but man, do you have to be smart thinking? I talked to one wrestling coach, and it's just thinking, if this happens and this happens and this happens, I'm lucky to remember what I did 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? They're trying to think the counter of the next move and understand
chess. Like quickly,
right?
There's
a lot of mind. I would say if you win 111 matches in anything, you're smart. You don't get there without the brains and the brawn.
And we got a shout out, Sean, from a fan of Nate Gugelman. Little Nate, it's just coming from Faye Ann. She says Nate is a class act and indestructible.
Apparently.
When you're only losing 3 matches and you're 23-0 in the season, you got to be indestructible. So thanks, Faye Ann, for shouting out Nate. And I love that these kids that we could. It's so funny, Sean, because every week we shout out a different athlete, and it seems like every time they're good people. They're great in the classroom. They're excelling in their sport, but it's great to know that these athletes are good kids and good students as well. And Faye Ann is confirming that for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So congratulations to little Nate Gugelman II, the wrestler from American Falls. He is our East Idaho Prepcast player of the week. Sean, let's get into some basketball. Let's go back to basketball. We started with Sugar-Salem girls basketball team. Let's go back to basketball.
Now, wait, Joel, I have to go 1 second. Oh. You didn't guarantee Crystal like a couple wins for coming on the show.
I totally forgot.
Wow. And, they have enough wins, but you didn't give them the guarantee you've been promoting all year. But sorry, I just thought of it. I didn't mean to throw you off.
I almost cursed us. We almost went on. Well, good thing we're back to basketball, because I guarantee that that because Crystal came on our show, that she now has good vibes and they will do well in the next, what was it, Sean? 3 games, right? Everyone has won like 2 or 3 games after our show.
Yeah.
I think that was right. So 2 or 3 games, I guarantee victories.
A big one Friday versus Teton.
A big one Friday versus Teton. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for the reminder, man. All right, so let's recap, Sean, some of the good performances, and then we'll go into some big games that are coming up. I don't know if we can recap one performance. This is we're kind of being a little bit
early.
Flexible. Yeah, I know, but it was a little early. We're being flexible with one performance because we got to talk about, for boys basketball, this Preston boys hoops team. Sean, what is going on down there in Preston, Idaho?
A lot of winning.
Right.
I mean, Preston has 13 wins. The Great Basin Conference, 6 teams, only has 12 wins altogether. Preston has 13 wins. Century has 9 wins. Pocatello has 6 wins. Spoiler alert, 5A District, 5 has 3 good teams.
Yeah.
Again, and only one goes, right?
Yep.
Beating the dead horse. But this is a team that's built on speed. When I watch them, Joel, they're just super fast. A lot of teams like to slow it down. Preston would be okay with probably a 15-second shot clock. They're fast. You got Reggie Larson, you got Cruz Harris, you got Schumann too. They've only got 1 loss to a Timberline team at their own tournament. It was in overtime. Larson had a chance to make that shot. This is right before we went to Christmas break. We talked about it a little bit, but this Timberline team is, they talked about it on the Magic Valley, the Ada County Prepcast, and Timberline's a good team. I think Hawaii's really good, but Preston, has done everything just to win. Ty Jones doing a good job there. So it'll be pretty interesting to see and to kind of bring it up because they have conference play coming on. They're gonna take on Century Wednesday. I'll be at that game, and it should be a good one. But Preston's just firing all cylinders.
And you mentioned Reggie Larson. When that shot that rimmed out, that was a 3-pointer. It was a good look. He scores 20 more points in 5 games this season. Reggie Larson has. So when he shot that 3 against Timberline, I think a lot of us thought it was going in, but just rims out at the buzzer. And that was in regulation, and then they ended up losing by 1 in overtime. But watch out, man! Preston this year is not being left home. I think, Sean. Century's gonna have something to say about that. But I think Preston is making sure that they're not going to be left home this time. I know I keep jumping the gun here.
I know, but two of the last years, they beat Pocatello twice. Pocatello wins the championship. The year before that, they played Hillcrest close 2 times. Hillcrest wins the championship. Really, Preston was only one of the only other teams really in the mix with Preston and Hillcrest in the last 2 seasons, and they had to stay home. Who knows what happens in that bus trip to Boise, and they go up and you're in a different place and you've got to come up with the goods, right? Sure, Preston wants that opportunity. I think they're on a mission right now. I find it hard to stop them, but I'm not going to discredit Century or Pocatello at this point. These are 2 good teams that are just going to be overshadowed a little bit by how good Preston is playing right now.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Century, I think Pocatello's taking a step back. I think Pocatello fans would admit that. But Century's right there, man, and I'm very excited for that Wednesday game. I'll be needing some updates, Sean, via text for that one. So good luck to Preston the rest of the way, man. But they are rocking 13-1, dominating, and just lost to that Timberline team by 1 from the Treasure Valley. Blackfoot boys, Sean, are 3-0 in conference play. They beat Hillcrest 52-20 and the Bonneville Bees 16-49. They play Shelley on Wednesday. That's gonna be a big game, big conference game. But man, Blackfoot's been through 7 lead changes, 1 tie in those games. Titan Larson had a 3 for the win and just missed.
For Hillcrest.
For Hillcrest in that game. But man, good stuff going on there in the High Country Conference led by Blackfoot.
Yeah, you brought up Blackfoot because I think if you kind of went to the preseason, you'd maybe put this in a little different order. But
Sure.
Right now it's Blackfoot, Bonneville, Hillcrest at the top 3 spots of that conference, with Shelley coming in next. So, pretty a Blackfoot team that's dangerous, and beat a Hillcrest team that's, they've lost a lot of big players like Sutton, Isaac Davis, and kind of filling those roles as Titan Larson. So kind of finding their way. But if you would have said right now, is Blackfoot at the top of this conference, I might have said no, but they're kind of a young team. Austin Arvey playing well. He had 19 points in that game against Hillcrest. So they're doing a good job. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Shelley, because I don't think Shelley's any easy win either in that conference. But I think when it comes down to it, when we start looking at that high country conference, it's who's going to win this. I mean, two go, and you don't win the championship game, you drop down to that playing game. Who else goes? It'll be interesting to see.
I like it. This Blackfoot basketball team is following the same trajectory as the football team, right? No one expected the football team to do much this year. They get a new coach out of Declo, and suddenly Blackfoot football is beating Pocatello and taking good teams down to the wire. And this basketball team with some of the same players, including Austin Arve, are doing what they did in football and surprising a lot of people. So good job to Blackfoot. And
Blackfoot doesn't have any seniors on their team. If my roster is correct, they have only juniors and sophomores. So, I mean, what a year. Blackfoot could be like Sugar Girls last year. They're kind of filling their way out here, and then next year, watch out, all these players come back. So, good job.
And then coming up, any boys basketball games, Sean, that you're kind of licking your chops? You're going to be very interested in how those play out.
Tomorrow I think Snake River versus Sugar-Salem boys. Snake 10-1, really good. I think they're just so tall for that classification. And then Sugar 10-2 again. Sugar, in the conference with Tetons. It's always a tough conference, but two teams with 10 wins take each other on Tuesday. I think that will be a good one. It'll be exciting to see what happens there.
Yeah, and of course they aren't from the same conference, but from the same classification, and so very interested to see how they play, because they might see each other in the play-in game, right? Or perhaps in a state tournament if they make it. Is that all from boys basketball, Sean? You want to go to girls?
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right, man, let's go. A couple Thunder teams, Pokey Thunder versus Thunder Ridge. This Tuesday, it's going to be the Battle of the Thunder, Sean. We're calling it. Pokey is just really good this year, man. I saw them play last week against Shelley, and Shelley hung for about 2.5 quarters, and then Pocatello started doing more pick and roll with their two bigs, and it blew the door wide open. And I'm on the broadcast, Logan Kelso and I were both saying, Pocatello is kind of letting Shelley stick around, but we haven't seen a lot of give and goes with the bigs. We haven't seen a lot of those bigs play off each other a lot. They've been passing more to their guards, and letting their guards shoot and get to the rim. And sure enough, Sean, late midway through the third quarter, Pocatello took over. The bigs took over, and it ended up being a double-digit victory.
Yeah, and the reason I kind of brought up the Battle of the Thunders, Thunder Ridge I would have went Madison, Rigby, Thunder Ridge in this 6A conference, but Thunder Ridge pulls off a win against Rigby last Tuesday the 7th, 45-40. I found that interesting, and so it'll be pretty interesting. And Thunder Ridge has played Pocatello, or I'm looking at the wrong score. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then the next game in girls that I'm kind of looking forward to is tomorrow, Hillcrest versus Shelley. That should be pretty interesting, right? Two teams battling. I think right now, I mean, I don't know. If you had to tier it, I'd kind of go Skyline Blackfoot, and then I'd go Hillcrest Shelley if we had to tier it. And then
which is how the standings are right now, right? I think
Hillcrest and Idaho Falls is almost in there with Hillcrest and Shelley, but a little bit below. That's if you had to tier it out. And so that's a pretty big game coming up.
And same with boys, right? This high country conference, we say this almost every week in almost every sport. You never know who you're going to get. Maybe that last place team is further away from the others, but that grouping of 4 or 5 teams on any given night. I mean, even Blackfoot, who I think is still the better team than Shelley, this is girls basketball that we're talking about. Blackfoot lost to Shelley by just a couple points. I think that was earlier in December 17th, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, any given night, these teams are gonna beat up on each other, frankly. And so I really like the Hillcrest Shelley. And Sean, now we're playing for Max Preps, but right now we're also playing for the district tournament seeding.
Yeah, and for this tournament, it could be no bigger advantage or disadvantage. I think you want to get home games. You don't want to have to travel. I think it's going to be so important because we've talked to Coach Heck, we've talked to Coach Odom, that any given night one of these teams can beat you, but I think you want to be home, and so how you end up in districts could be so important. And right now Skyline, is kind of the favorite. They're 5-1, Blackfoot 5-1, Hillcrest and Shelley both at 3-3. So again, my tier system wasn't too bad, but it doesn't mean like a Shelley couldn't beat Skyline or Hillcrest. Just that record doesn't necessarily allude to what could happen. So it'll be very interesting, which is a good lead into where you're going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. Blackfoot at Skyline tomorrow night, dude. It's gonna be awesome. I did Blackfoot Skyline last year at the Taj McGriz. Again, gonna be at Taj McGriz tomorrow night. And last year was honestly, Sean, my first time seeing Blackfoot Skyline. But these teams have played each other a lot, man.
Was last year a last second shot win it? Was that last year?
No, it was the regular season game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Skyline won by, I want to say it was double digits. If not, it was a comfortable win. Yeah, no, I didn't get to watch I wasn't at the closer one. But these teams, Sean, I was talking to Coach Keck earlier in the day, and he says that Blackfoot is Skyline's most common opponent, or Skyline has played Blackfoot more than anybody else. So they've played 20 plus games in the last 5 years. He said, which is insane. But you could tell there's this great respect between both coaches. Both coaches, Coach Odom, Coach Keck, have coached against each other a lot. These teams know each other really well. And yeah, watch out, fireworks, man, because like you said, you don't know who is going to win, honestly. On any given night, someone gets hot, a team gets a little off, and there's just enough talent on each team where it's going to be really close.
Yeah, they kept meeting at state, like either the first round or they kept meeting because of when Max Preps happened. Before Max Preps, you would be on the opposite side of the bracket no matter what. Now with Max Preps, if they're ranked similar, they could be playing first round or potential second round. So I can see why they've had these so many games, plus all the district games, right? They sometimes end up playing each other twice in districts, which was, Blackfoot upset Skyline, right? And then loses Skyline in the game to go to state. That's true second place. So, I mean, add a few more on there. And it'll be interesting too, right? If Blackfoot wins tomorrow night, they're tied for the conference, right? It's 5-1. If Skyline wins it, they go to 6-0, and gives them a little bit of breathing room. But Hillcrest 3-3 and Shelley at 3-3, you just don't feel like there's a lot of breathing room. Every game right now in that conference is going to be so crucial.
Yeah, totally. And Skyline, what was I going to say about Skyline and Blackfoot? I lost my train of thought. Forget about it. It's going to be a great one, Sean. That's where I'm going to be tomorrow night. And really looking forward to that one. Let's go down, Sean, really fast before we end tonight. 3A, man. Let's do Wendell versus Malad. Malad 14-1. They were our team of the week a few weeks ago, the Malad Dragons. We were going to see if we could have Malad's coach on the broadcast, but because their gym, there's just not a lot of space, not a lot of time in the gym, they're practicing, I think, right now, right, Sean? So
yeah, they're practicing. Yeah, there's only so many, there's not like a lot of extra gyms in Malad, apparently. I was emailing him back and forth and chatting with Trevor Jones, and he's like, he's been real energetic to get back to us and having a great year. And so he got back to me, and it's a busy week. They have First Tuesday, Aberdeen Friday, and then Wendell Saturday. I circled that Wendell game because a lot of people are big on Wendell, 9-4 in this conference coming in, and each team has some great potential. So they're pretty excited. Wendell has a great start to the year. He said, they're pretty young, up and coming with a lot of wins, and it's going to be real competitive. They've never played a Wendell team the last few years, so it's interesting to see how they match up. He said expanding the districts makes it look a lot different and brings a lot of new challenges. So it'll be really interesting to say. And I believe he was telling me they haven't won districts in a very long time as well. So he's they're not trying to look too far ahead, but it'd be so amazing for this team to kind of come away with the district championship where they haven't done it in many years.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the Malad Dragons girls volleyball team do so well, and then a lot of those players, at least a few of those players, now playing basketball and having that same success in a little 3A Malad. On my way, once Brandon Bainey, Sean, a little story time, and then we'll get out of here. I know. Once Brandon Bainey said, "Hey Joel, we want you to do the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean. Will you kind of lead the charge with that?" I realized I need to do a little more homework. I need to get more experience. I've only lived in Idaho now 4 years. And so on our way home from like some trip, I think we were in California and Utah, we drove past Malad. I said, kids, we're stopping at Malad. And we stopped at that. We got off the exit at the Malad exit, went to the high school, took some pictures. I think I posted them on Instagram and Facebook. Here we are. We'll be talking about Malad Dragons in the fall. Honestly, Sean, I was thinking more football because, the football field was right there. But no, man, it's been girls volleyball. It's been girls basketball. That's been the meat and the potatoes of Malad High School, man. And it was cool to be there, but it was funny. I was there almost for the wrong reasons, taking pictures of the football field. Fall season's coming. But in the end, man, it's been girls volleyball and basketball has been leading the charge for Malad sports. Yeah,
and Malad has been traditionally really good at football and stuff. And as time has went on and people don't live in the little cities anymore,
sure.
Right? I mean, that's just been the output. Apparently every basketball player in Southeast Idaho lives in the Preston area, but
that's right.
Malad is I would say was kind of down and kind of on an upward swing, and you only have so many kids, and they've done just a really good job. I was going to tell you a story. We used to go to Malad to get some like diner or burger joint had Iron Port soda. Joel, have you ever had Iron Port?
Oh man, I love soda. I need it. What is it?
It's kind of like a different kind of root beer. You're gonna have to look it up. I don't think they make Iron Port anymore, but we'd go to Malad to get Iron Port. I don't even know how to describe what the taste is, but that's why we went to Malad. I had a few friends that grew up there, their families and stuff. So I think Lance Taylor has some Malad. He's from Malad. Malad has a very deep culture, and and a lot of these coaches go out and do things from the Malad area, or players, and their sports culture has just been phenomenal over the years in Idaho, and they're definitely not forgotten right now when it comes to girls basketball.
Right on. Congrats to Malad Dragons. They were our team of the week a few weeks back, but we had to shout them out and talk about that game that's coming up against Wendell. And for those that maybe don't know, some of those teams from that Magic Valley area, it was Wendell and Sean. What was their team? That it's escaping my. Wendell and the Wendell Trojans and Declo, right?
Declo joined, the other team that joined, yeah.
So Declo and Wendell joined 3A, and
there's the pictures.
There it is. I think Paul Kingsbury just or was that you, Sean?
I don't think I have that maneuverability. They don't let me touch any of those controls. That must have been Paul.
That was Paul. Yeah. So Paul hopped on here. I saw he came on, and he threw that picture up that I took of Malad. There it is again, folks. There's Malad High School, home of the Dragons. That's when it was warm here in Southeast Idaho. There was the picture of the high school that I took in preparation for doing this prepcast with Sean Kane. But Malad having a great season. And with the introduction of those two new teams, it's added some new dynamics, some wrinkles to that conference. But so far, Malad is still showing that they are king of girls basketball and girls volleyball. Sean, before we go, it's been almost 15 minutes. Anything else you want to shout out for the East Idaho Prepcast this week?
No, like I said, you're going to be at the game tomorrow night, IdahoSports.com. Catch Joel live in charge. Wednesday, tomorrow night I have Preston Century girls,
Right.
and then Wednesday Preston Century boys at Century. So we're pretty busy that way. And then on Friday night, I am headed to Rockland for boys basketball. Rockland versus Dietrich, me and Logan Kelso. So just an early shout out to that for my first basketball game of the year. I've never been to Rockland, so that will be pretty interesting. It's really not that far away, but I always feel like it's a really far away. Shane Neal, the coach there, great guy. He's phenomenal to talk to. When he came, when he played Grace Lutheran one time, when we did a doubleheader or something at Grace Lutheran, talked to him. Great guy, great coach. So that should be an exciting game. Right
on. Like Sean said, you can catch me tomorrow night, Blackfoot versus Skyline on IdahoSports.com, live and free. Game starts at 7:30. Broadcast will start around 7:20, and then Sean will be he'll be a Century manning the dude. What are they called? This is my PA. I keep wanting to say play-by-play, not play-by-play. The PA duties for girls basketball and boys basketball Tuesday and Wednesday against Preston.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm excited for both games. Dan Hubbard, the legendary radio guy for Preston, he said he wanted to talk to me in preparation.
Inside information.
Yeah, in preparation for that boys game. So I guess I'll give it a shot. I don't know if I'm the big expert, but it's interesting seeing. And I've also been kind of an advocate for some of the East Idaho teams, and that's been kind of an amazing part of this. Is I really get to talk up all the different teams, and it's been fun, and give the credit where it's due.
Yeah, definitely. No, we wouldn't be here doing this without these awesome kids and parents, coaches doing so much to promote athletics, to promote good sportsmanship. We're super thankful for them and grateful to tell their stories and shout them out and give them some credit. Because Sean, 4 years high school's done, and most of us, we don't play, we don't swim, we don't participate after high school. So if we can, we want to shout out as many kids, coaches, teams as possible. And that's what we do here on the East Idaho Prepcast. One more time, Sean, this East Idaho Prepcast is brought to you by Ideal. It's a state-sponsored tax-advantaged savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising costs of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school apprenticeship, or even those nasty student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org and start your Ideal 529. That's Sean Kane. I'm Joel Richardson. We'll catch you next week, maybe at the normal time Wednesday. We'll see, maybe not. But we'll try to keep doing this every week. Maybe if the day isn't the same, the time we'll try to keep at 7:30 and keep this East Idaho Prepcast rolling. Again, for Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.